Hello guys, welcome to the next session of developing e-commerce application from scratch using Angular and Spring Boot. In the last session we discussed on how we can create these forms so that we can add the product. So this form is basically accessible only to the admin, so that admin can come to this form and admin can add the product details. But if you see on the left hand side section, we have just created a form and we have we are just taking couple of details like product name, description, its actual price and its discounted price. But on the right hand side we have one area that is called as the image area, and in this area what we are going to do is we are going to create one section which will be a drag and drop section, and also there will be some browse button so that admin can drag and drop or browse the images which will be a product images, and along with these details we can just save the product images as well, because without any images the e-commerce application will not be a e-commerce application. So this is the thing that we are going to focus. So our left hand side section is completely done. So now it's time to focus on right hand side section. So before this, like before coming to the Angular and before making any changes on this right hand side section, what we have to do is we have to design our first of all API, so that our API can handle the images, and then only we will come back to this UI side. So in this session we will focus on the backend side, and in the next session we will focus on the UI side. So without wasting much more time, let's go back to the IntelliJ and let me just show you what are the changes that are required in our existing API, so that our existing API itself can handle the images. So over here this is the project, and first of all what we have to do is we have to create one new entity for the images. So let me just go to the entity package, and inside this let me just add one new class, and let me just give the class name as let's suppose image model. You can give any name, but that name should be sensible, and that image model will be a entity. So let me just annotate this with @entity, and also let me just give @table. And again, if you just want, you can just give a table name. So let me just give it as name is equals to let's suppose image underscore model, like this. Now this class is going to have few properties, so let me just tell you what are those properties. So first of all, obviously it is going to be going to have a ID. So let me just add private long ID. Then that image should have some name, so let me just use it as string, and let me just give it as a name, and also we will save its type. So let me just use private string and type, like this. And also we have to save its bytes. So it's a picture bytes basically. So let me just create one variable for that as well. So this should be the bytes array, and let me just give the name as picture or BIC byte, like this. And now what we have to do is first of all we have to use some annotations on this ID. So I just want to annotate this as ID. So let me just use ID @ID and @generated value, because I want to generate this ID automatically. So we have to use @generated value, and strategy will be the auto, like this. And also now we have to give one annotation on this picture byte variable as well, or array as well, because this picture byte column will contain a value that will be a bytes of a picture, and that will be a very a long maybe you can consider it will be a very long value. So in terms of size, so we have to specify the length of this column as well. So let me just give it as column @column, and let me just give the parameter of length. So if you see, like the length parameter default is 255, so 255 will not be enough, we need far more than that. So that's the reason we have to change its default size. So let me just give the size maybe let's suppose 5 and 0 0 0 0 0 0 0. It's a 7 times 0. So again, I know that this size is pretty big and we may not require this much size, but as of now I am just giving this size just for like I just want to put my I just don't want to get any some unnecessary errors or some unnecessary exceptions. So that's the reason, for the safer side, I'm just adding these this much size. But obviously we may not require this much size, we can just reduce it, but later we will reduce it. I just don't want to waste my time to handle these silly exceptions at this point of time at least. Now what we can do is we can just create one constructor. So let me just use public image model, and this will be a basically empty constructor. And again we will create one more constructor, so that that will be a parameterized constructor, so that if someone wants to create object of this image model with, and at that time only if someone wants to assign the value, so there should be some parameterized constructor. So let me generate, and let me just use constructor. Let me just select only name, type and picture bytes, because id will be automatically created, so I just don't want to assign the id like this. And also we have to create a getter setters. So let me just right click, generate, and let me just select getters and setters, and let me select all, and let me click on OK. Now all the getters and setters are generated. Now our image model class is completely done, and we can just close this class. Now this image model class, and previously we have created a product class, so there should be some connection between this product and image model class, so then they can talk to each other, and we can associate all the images with the required product. So that's the reason we have to create a binding between these two classes. So let me just tell you quickly how we can do that one. So over here what we can just do is, after this product actual price, let me just add one more property, and that property will be, let's suppose, private set of images model, a set of image model. The reason why I'm using set is over here. So first of all, set basically avoid duplicate values, that is the first reason. And the second one is, obviously there will not be any single image, there might be multiple images for a single product, so that's the reason we want any collection, so that we can handle multiple images. So that's the reason we are just using set over here. Let me just give the name as product images like this, and now on this we have to give some annotations. So again we have to first of all mention this is what kind of relationship, so we have to mention that. So let me just give you, this is as a many to many relationship like this, and then we have to give it as a fetch is equals to eager. So as of now I'm just using as eager, maybe we can just try later to make it as a lazy, but as of now let's keep it eager only. And cascade type will be the all, so let me just use all. Now again this is not the enough, we have to give one more annotation, which will be a @join table, because we want to make we want to create join between these two tables. So let me just use a join table like this. And now inside these just give some attention, because inside this we are going to use lot of values. So first of all, inside the bracket let me just give it as a name is equals to, and you can just give the name as product underscore images like this. So this is the link between the product and images, so that's the reason I'm just giving the name as product underscore images. After the double quotes give the comma and hit the enter, and again we have to give some different parameters. So we have to give it as join columns. So we have to mention what are the different columns on which we want to we have to specify the columns on which we want to make a join. So join columns is equals to, and inside the curly brackets we have to give few more parameters. We have to give one more annotation like @join column. So make sure on the above we are using @join columns, just a join columns, and at the below we are just using @join column. So over here we are using columns, and over here we are just using a column. And now let me just give the name as product underscore id, and then after this curly bracket let me just give the comma, and then let me just give it as a inverse join columns is equals to, and again we have to use a curly bracket, and then again we have to use a same annotation, that is at the rate join column, and name is equals to image underscore id, like this. Now our code is done, and we have to generate a getter setter for product images. But make sure, if you want, you can just pause and you can just give attention to this code snippet, and make sure you are just using the correct id. Obviously, if you are following me from from my very first video, so if you are following the conventions, naming conventions like me, then make sure you are just giving the name that I have used over here. Now what it will do, I'll just tell you quickly. It will create third table which will be having the name as product underscore images, and inside that images product underscore images table, it will save a product id, and also it will save its associated image id. So that will be the relationship between the product and image model table. So this will be a third table which is going to maintain relationship between a product and our image model table. So this is how it is going to work. Now we are done with this product class. Let me just first of all see whether I have generated the getter setters. So I think I have missed, so let me just quickly generate getters and setter for product images, and let me just click OK, and now getters and setters are also generated. Now only thing that we have to do is we have to go to the controller, and we have to add few more changes inside our controller. So let me just go to the product controller. And previously we have created one endpoint, that is /add new product. Inside this API only we have to make some changes. So very first change that we have to do is we have to change this request to a multi-part request, because as we are going to send the images, this request body will not work. So we have to make it as a request part. That means this request is going to be a multi-part request. So to basically denote this endpoint as a multi-part request, we have to give some values over here. So let me just use it as a consume. So inside the post mapping annotation, give value is equals to your endpoint name. After that, give the comma, and consumes is equals to, and inside the curly brackets we have to just give media type. Let me just remove this. So let me just give it as a media type, and let me just quickly tell you from which package we have to use. So let me just use media type dot, and let me just give it as a multi-part. So let me just first of all see whether it is yes. So let me just remove this import first, and then let me just try media type dot multi-part form data value. So let me just give, I'm not sure why my caps lock is not working, form data underscore value, like this. And now let me just save this code, and over here it will ask you to import. So let me just quickly click on the import, and if you see, it is imported from org.springframework.http.media type. Now this consumes is done. The next thing that we have to do is we have to first of all add one new parameter. So first of all, we have to change this request body, and we have to make it as @request part, like this. And then we have to give the name of this part. So let me just give the name as product, like this. And then second part we have to add. So let me just give a comma, and let me just give @request part, and again name of that part will be, let's suppose, image file, like this. And then let me just give it as an array of multi-part file, like this. And then let me just give name to this array. So now if you see, we have the array of multi-part file. So reason why we are using array over here is admin can drag and drop multiple images. So we don't want to limit admin to add only one image at a time. we want like we can give access to the admin, like admin can add any number of images. So that's the reason if admin added more than one images, so it should be like array, we should have to use this array over here. Now we have added the required parameters. Now the next thing that we have to do is we have to first of all prepare our file. So this file that we will receive from the UI side, this file we cannot save it to our database as it is. So before saving it to the database, we have to process that images, and to process that image, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create one new function or maybe method, and then that method will process my image, and then only we will save it to the database. So let me just give the name as public. As of now, let me just give the return type as void. In a moment we are going to change this. Let me just give the name as upload image. That upload image will take array of multipart file and then multipart files like this, and then we have to write a method body so that we can process these uploaded images. So now the very first thing that we have to do is we have to create one empty set of image model, because we have to we have used a set of image model in our products. So that's the reason we have to use a set. Then image model is equals to new hash set like this, and then let me just create a for loop. So first of all we have to use a for loop, and then inside this for loop we have to use for multipart file colon multipart files. So this is basically a for each loop that we are using over here, and then inside this for each loop we have to create a object of this image model. So let me just create object of image model. So image model is equals to new image model, and again we have two different options. First of all, we can just keep it as it is, like empty a constructor, and also we have created one constructor so that if we want to assign the values, then we can give values inside a constructor itself. So we have parameterized constructor as well. So I'm just going to use a parameterized constructor. So what I'm going to do is, first of all we have to assign a file name. So let me just give it as file dot original file name, get original file name, then comma, we have to assign a content type. So let me just use file dot get content type, then comma, lastly we have to use a file dot get bytes like this. So we have to assign a bytes as well. And now let me just save this code, and let's see why I'm getting the error over here. So let me just first of all see. Yes, so it is basically saying that it is basically saying that there is chances of IO exception. There might be chance like it will throw the IO exception, so we must have to handle the IO exception. So I'm not going to handle that IO exception inside this upload image function. Instead I will handle that inside this add a new product function or method. So for this, let me just use a throws IO exception like this, and now if you see, the error is vanished. And now after this, like once we created the image model, we have to add that image model into our set. So let me just use image models dot add, or image models dot add, and then we have to give this object name. So let me just give image model like this, and again make sure this particular line, that is image models dot add, is added inside the for loop only. It is not outside the for loop, it is inside a for loop. So just give attention to this line over here. And now once our for loop execution is done, what we will do, we will just return our set like this. And now it will again complain because over here we have used a void as a return type, but now we are returning the set. So let me just quickly change that void to the set of image models like this. And now our upload image method is done. The only thing that is left back is calling this upload image method from our add a new product method. So let me just quickly call that method. So right now let me just comment out this particular line, and first of all we have to give a try catch, because this method is going to send us this IO exception, so obviously we must have to handle it. So let me just give a try catch over here, and let me just handle the exception E like this. And now inside the try catch, let me just first of all call the upload image method. Inside this upload image method, we have to send all the files that we have received. So this parameter that we have to send it to the upload image method. This method is going to return us the set of image models. So let me just use set of image model, like images like this. And these images, like whatever processed images are, we want to attach those images to our product. So product dot set product images, and then we have to just give name. So let me just copy these images, which is my set name, and let me just paste it over here like this. And now we have processed our images, and we have also done with the setting of images to our product. Now this product, we have to save it into a database. So what we have to do is we have to just make it as a product service dot add new product, and then we have to just pass the product, and whatever service will return, we have to just return it as it is like this. And if at all we get any exception, maybe we can just as of now we can just print, like whatever exception we will get, we will just print as e dot get message like this. So let me just remove this commented line, and let me just remove this gap as well. And this is how the function is looking like right now. And if you see, like as of now I'm just getting the error over here. So it is basically saying that, okay, so it is basically saying that we have to add a return statement. So yeah, obviously like at the end we have to add one return statement, because we are returning from try, but we are not returning anything from a catch. So after printing the message of exception, let me just mark it as a return null like this. And now let me just save it, and we are done with our API. So this is how we can just write API, and we can just change our existing API to handle the images. And now everything is done from the backend perspective. I just wanted to show this API, like how the API is working from the Postman, but somehow my Postman is not working, so I am not able to test it out inside a Postman. But you can just test it out from your end, and I'm sure like this particular code will work, because I have already tested in one of my different projects. So the code will there will be no any error inside a code. But right now let me just click on run button, and let's see whether the table structure is created or not, because that is the main thing that we have to check. So my application is started, and let me just click on MySQL workbench. And if you see, if you just go to the MySQL workbench, so let me just connect root at the rate 123, and then let me just click on refresh all to my database, and let me just go to the tables. Inside the tables, if you see, like there is new table which is created, and that table name is basically a product underscore images that we have given inside our code. And this table contains two different columns, product ID and image ID. These are column names also we have given inside a annotation. And let me just go to the product table itself. So there is no any chain inside a product table, and one more table is created, which is image model. So if you see, this is how the image model table is looking like. So I hope you got the idea, like how we can update our existing API. Obviously we are going to connect this API, and we are going to make necessary UI changes in the next session. So till then, if you have any questions, let me know into a comment section. Also, you can just try out to test this API from your Postman. So that will be an assignment for you, and let me know into a comment section whether we are able to test it or not. So I hope you enjoyed this session, and I'll see you in the next session.